the one you've all been waiting for, the DBK Knife review. Good morning and welcome to, or welcome back to the channel, whichever the case may be. And in this video I'm going to be reviewing this, the long awaited DBK knife. Now, if you watched my previous short little video, I mentioned that I won't be using the sheath I've made with myself. That sheath didn't suit me. Not that there was anything wrong with it, it was fine, but it just didn't suit me. So I've got my own sheath. First thing, it's a beautiful day. It's really nice, bit of a breeze and about 20 degrees. I'd prefer to do a firelighting knife review in slightly worse conditions, but you know, life deals these difficult blows. What I'm going to do, I'm going to process wood, make feather sticks so I can get a full feel of this knife. Now, generally in conditions like this it would take me about 20 seconds to light the fire. There's plenty of dry twigs, plenty of stuff all over the place. But I'm going to do it the hard way, and I'm going to start off with some cross grain battening. This usually takes its toll on a knife because you don't really want to go cross grain, but I'm using this knife now as if I haven't got a saw for this. Right, let's get to it. I found this piece of wood on the ground. It looks like hazel. Should be okay. My batten fell to pieces, so I've got another piece. Well, now I've got a bit more solid batten to work with. Well, it took a bit of time, but it did it. Bit of brute force as well. And I got enough wood there now, and with the batten, if I choose to use it, get a fire going. Now, one thing I didn't mention, on my last review of a TRC knife, it was the Apocalypse, I had a little bit of problem with the edge. The edge went, it lost its keen razor edge. but I'm putting that down to a tiny wire on it. Perhaps it wasn't quite buffed out, because after I stropped it, it was back fine. So just before I left home this morning, I gave it a strop. Let's examine the edge. Nail test. No dings. Not quite as sharp as it was, but still pretty good. Right, let's split these down. I'll tell you one thing, if you ever need to do that in anger, then you will never forget your saw ever again. I'm going to use the knotty one for the batten this time. Batten's great. So the ones I've just battened down now, I've got knots in them. Now ideally, when I'm sectioning wood with a saw, I'll take the knots out to get a nice straight grain. But because I was doing it that way, I just went through them. But I did make sure one of the pieces was knot free. So the knot free pieces will be my feather sticks and my kindling, and these will be my first stage fuel. Well, these are nice and straight. I should get some really nice feather sticks. Ideally, I'd probably like them about 2 or 3 inches longer, but it's not a problem. Now when I make feather sticks to light the fire, I usually make one really good one, which I call my igniter stick, and the rest of them don't have to be so good, because curls will go up anyway. But you want that igniter stick, take your small flame, take your spark, whatever you're going to do, and that's your main one. And I always leave that till last, because if it's raining, you don't want to get it wet. Another thing I do, which most people don't, I tend to make what I call kindling sticks, which are basically feather sticks but thick. So we're not talking nice fine curls, we're talking thick. If you do that, you don't really need to split them down any further than that to grow your fire. So I'll show you now exactly what I mean. I've seen a few other people doing this, and what they do, and I do it as well, is go all the way and cut it off. So you've got that. And what's good about that is you can turn around on the other side and do another one. You probably notice that I'm sitting down now, and the reason for that is because it's a lot more stable for making feather sticks when you're sitting down rather than standing up. You're standing up, you tend to wobble all over the place. Well, I'm going to pick a really nice stick. This is a nice one, and I'm going to start making feather sticks. that's one. Now I'll probably make another 3 of these, some of the kindling sticks and an igniter stick, and I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to crack on. Right, that's four feather sticks made, some splits and some kindling sticks, and now I'm going to make my igniter stick. I just wanted to share one thing with you. If your wrists aren't that strong, another good way to do it is to lock your hand against your thigh and pull the stick. Now I don't need to do that because my wrists are pretty strong, so I'm just going to crack on the way I normally do it. Now when I'm doing one of these super fine igniter sticks, I put less pressure on the knife, so I'm not trying to curl, I'm just trying to skim it over. Now I'm going to stop there and I'm going to say something. I'm not making, although this knife is sharp, it's really sharp, I'm not making the kind of curls I'm used to making with the Zero Scandi grind. It's not making them really fine ones. It's the grind, because it's what I would call a sabre vex, so there's quite a lot of meat behind the actual cutting edge. It's not giving them tiny little curls which I'm used to making, but it's still doing pretty good. We'll call that done. Well, I'm ready to light the fire now, and I tell you what, I could really do with a cup of tea. Rehydrate or die. Well, I've set my fireplace up. I've put some twigs on the ground and I put a couple of splits on top of that. My batten, I've taken the bark off and I've laid it in the back so I can rest my feather sticks and things against it, and with the bark off it'll catch a lot better. Yes, so I'm going to light this fire up now. I'm going to use a ferro rod on this, and I've got 2 ferro rods with me. I've got a small Light My Fire Scout, which is in an X-Attack handle. If you watch me, you know I didn't like the X-Attack bar, so I put a Scout in the handle, because I like the handle. And I got my Uberleben rod, my large rod. Well, I'll try first with the little one. It should go up. I don't think for 1 minute it won't. May take a couple of scrapes, you know what it is. Get this fire going, get some tea on. And when all this lot's caught, you can just put some damp twigs on it, and there's going to be enough heat there to dry them out. And then if you want to burn big stuff, just burn them through or burn the ends in. Now I'm a big fan of the parallel fire lay, so when I get a good set of flames like that, I'll start taking pieces about 2 foot long and laying them parallel. That's why that fireplace is that way, because I find it just easier to cook on, easier to maintain. I really like a parallel fire lay. Now before I get on with any other kind of knifey stuff, carving and such, I thought I'll test the spine out. Now the tip of it, when I used it to light the fire, worked brilliantly. It was nice and sharp, but I haven't tested the main spine. It feels sharp, but it could be a bit sharper. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a small feather stick, and I'm going to light it with that portion. I'm going to light the ferro rod with that portion of the blade. I'm also going to scrape some fat wood, like that, and I'm going to make some ribbons out of a split. So no fat wood at all in this, this is just split wood. Wood's a little bit damp, but yeah, it did it just fine. Good. Fat wood scraping. Change your ferro rod. Yes, that worked just fine as well, but it could be sharper. Little feather stick. that spine is plenty sharp. This Oberlieben rod is quite soft. It's a lot softer than the Light My Fire, and it was just taking ribbons off it when I was really giving it some. Yes, I think I need to use it a bit more subtle. Yes, the Oberlieben is soft. Yeah, spine's fine. In fact, now it's seen a bit of action, it's feeling a lot sharper. Yes, it's looking like it's been used now. I've come for a walk now into the woods, and I'm looking for some thumb to 2 finger size hazel, so I can do a little bit of green carving and cut it down at the base, doing the bendy method. But I thought I'd just show you this honeysuckle. Excellent tinder. I've made many a tinder bundle for friction fire out of this stuff, and it's really good. The only thing is you've got to be a bit selective taking it off, because you don't want to kill the plant. But any of this shedding stuff is great tinder. Well, I found what I'm looking for, so let's try and cut this through. Piece of cake. I'll have to come back after, take the saw of that, tidy it up a bit. I don't want all this. Try the chest lever. It's got my green wood. I'm going to tidy this end up now. I'll just put a point on it just to see how well it makes a stick. What I think I'll do with this bottom section, I'll make a pot hanger out of it. I know it hasn't got a V on it, but you can carve one of them in easy enough. Heavy end down. I can speed this process up with a baton, or fit in the US of A, a baton. But I want to use a knife. I want to see how comfortable it is doing quite a bit of carving. I'm not going to carve a spoon with it. I'm not big on carving spoons. So that I can't, I just think it takes too long. It's one of them fireside things. Well, the end just broke off. I was just about finishing it and the end broke off. Well, there we are. These things happen. But it works well. I'll just cut that off and start again. Yeah, I'm liking this knife. I am. That didn't take long at all. Right, so it's pretty obvious I can carve. And check the edge. It has lost its edge. Whether that's because I've been shaving green wood and there's fibres in there, I'll give it a strop. But yeah, it's definitely lost its edge. I'm going to make a funky notch now. I'm going to take a collar out. Keeping an eye to see if my fire's relit. I put a load of twigs on it and just left it alone. We've got a slight breeze here, so as soon as that goes up, there's another kettle going on. So you can see where I'm going with this. I'm using the knife in all different angles to get a feel of it, to get the grip right, and it's working just fine. But that shaped knife is not great for working wood, this shaped blade. That belly, now it's better than the Falkniven's, the F series, I think so. But it's still not a knife made for working wood. This is more of a utility knife, but it does the job. That's the main thing. You know, with a purpose made Scandil, you know, a Puko or, you know, a custom, you are getting that slightly thinner blade with more of a continuous curve, which does work wood better. Just does. But I am liking this knife. I think I need to blow my fire. Right then, that's it for today's bit of testing. I'm going to give you my opinion. First thing, it did lose its edge, so I'm going to give it a quick strop. I'm not going to load it up with paste because I do believe that it's just a little bit clogged. So a couple of light strops will do the job. Not much hair left on my arms, by the way. Yeah, it's back. Right, my opinion. I like this knife. I do like it. I've said what I'm going to say about the sheath. Didn't suit me, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Performed really well, but I would put this more in the utility survival category rather than bushcraft category. Blade shape doesn't really lend itself to carving wood, but it did everything I asked of it. It stayed sharp after a little strop. I like Elmax. I've got the R2 Scout from Falkniven and I really enjoyed playing with that. That's a nice little knife. And I recently purchased the F1X in Elmax as well. so there'll be a review on that coming up at some point. Yeah, it's nice. For me, I could do with a bit more meat in the handle. I am feeling a little bit of fatigue, especially making quite a few feather sticks. It's a nice full hand's width, so it's plenty long enough. I did a slight bit of chopping at the start because I'm lazy really, and I didn't feel like cross battening anymore, so I done a tiny bit of chopping. I think a lanyard on there, 2 fingers in, would have helped, and that is something I often do. I just forgot to put one on. The spine, which didn't feel that sharp to start with, actually turned out great. That I'm pleased about. It's just a really nice, usable knife. I'm not going to cut tomatoes and make a meal with it, because as far as I'm concerned, most knives will do that anyway. Grind wise, yes, it'll probably shoot potatoes and carrots out a bit because it is thick, same as a Scandi, but it'd probably be better for food prep than a Scandi. It's lovely. The fit and finish on it are just beautiful. Can't complain at all. They're not cheap, mine. No, I think when I signed up for it with the shipping, it was £342, I believe. Is it a £342 knife? Well, if you compare it to a Falcon, yes, it definitely is. When I first saw this knife, I thought to myself, that is the knife the F1 Pro should have been, and I'm standing by that. Yeah, that is what the F1 Pro should have been. It's an excellent knife. I really like it. I will be keeping it, and I will be using it again. Very good all-rounder. I think if you're going to do a lot of woodwork and carving and things, I suggest you just buy a Mora carver and stick it in your pack. But for general duties, battening wood, shaving wood, for fire lighting, it's just great. It's a very good knife. I like it. But then I usually don't buy something I don't like the look of. Yes, I'm very happy with this knife. It's a very good knife, and considering the prices on things these days, compare it to a Bark River or a Falcon, it's not really overpriced at all. Well done, DBK boys, you came up with a good one. Yes, I like it. Thank you very much for watching. I'm assuming this video is going to be relatively long. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. Just remember, that thumbs up is always appreciated. Until the next time, ta-ra. I'm not spending my hard-earned money on some piece of crap I don't like the look of. Selvans. Oh my god, I've forgotten what I call it. What I call... I've come for a walk now. I'm going to try and find myself some thumb, 2-finger size hazel to make some, trigger mechanism. No, start that again. Back to camp we go. Now if you're regular, you're used to bloopers, and I just don't think I did any today. So have a look at a feather stick. I made this while I was sitting here thinking about what I was going to say. Feather sticks. And do you know I always bang on about jet lighters? Try and do this standing here with... what's it called? Oh, here's a blooper already. A bic. Try standing here with the breeze coming and do this with a bic. Jet lighters. Great. And cheap as chips. I don't like bics. And if you watched my survival kit video, the amount of people that commented and said you need to put a little bic lighter in there was unbelievable. I got comments saying bic lighters and birthday candles. Well, I'd rather use a fire plug or two in there. personally, because a birthday candle will not light with a ferro rod and a fire plug will. And you can open a fire plug up, and basically if you only need a tiny flame to light your twigs, you can do it, or you can open it up more and have a nice big flame. I like fire plugs, they're great. Right, sorry about the lack of bloopers, I'm off. Ta-da.